Welcome to Ben on Breaking News. I'm Ben Meiselas, and this is your breaking news. We've got a lot to discuss. Donald Trump burning down the United States and, frankly, burning down the world. This morning, we got a terrible jobs report, only about 57,000 new jobs created. And there were big revisions to the April and May job totals as well. I've been saying this before. We are clearly in a jobs recession right now. The only sector where we see jobs increasing is a sector that Donald Trump is attacking: healthcare jobs and healthcare related work. Otherwise, we have lost jobs, manufacturing jobs, all types of jobs, hospitality jobs. I mean, we are losing at such a rapid clip right now as countries across the world are boycotting the United States. And Donald Trump continues to post about stocks that he has ownership of, or companies whose stock he owns. This morning, he was posting about Micron and saying it's a great American company. Donald Trump owns Micron stock. But I think even at this point, the market has caught on to his manipulation. Micron stock is down. All of these tech stocks that Donald Trump has invested in, or insider traded in, however you want to characterize it, they are getting crushed right now. Donald Trump says that he's the crypto president. I'm the crypto president. Well, if you have crypto or you know about it, crypto has basically crashed under the Trump regime, but not for Donald Trump. He's made over $1.2 billion in his own crypto holdings, while the meme coin holders and other crypto investors in World Liberty Financial have basically lost most of their money. Donald Trump finally made that disclosure, which I think is just the tip of the iceberg. Over 900 pages in this, so-called financial disclosure showing all of the money that Donald Trump's made during his first year in office. Over 21,000 stock trades, 21,000 individual trades. And that number is probably even more when you consider that he's invested in different funds as well, which include, other groupings of stocks, his crypto holdings, his licensing deals. And Donald Trump brags and says, look, this is what rich people do. This is the American dream. This is why you elected me. Don't you feel great? Don't you all love the Qatari jet, the $400 million Qatari donated jet that the American taxpayers put $1 billion into as well? No, we don't want your Qatari jet. We don't like it. It's disgraceful that you're flying around into the physical manifestation of your greed. It's absolutely disgusting. Then you had Donald Trump running around in North Dakota yesterday with scissors. Did you see that? He was doing a ribbon cutting and where to put the scissors, and he wanted to put the scissors, in his pocket, he wanted to steal the scissors. Very, very, very bizarre. He was speaking with AI Teddy Roosevelt at this Teddy Roosevelt Center as though Teddy Roosevelt was alive. He was talking about working with his children and referring to working with his children as doing threesomes with his children. It is the height of a humiliation ritual. And speaking of humiliation rituals, another manifestation of a humiliation ritual. You see what's going on with this so-called Great American State Fair. It's not great. It's not even a state fair. I mean, nobody's showing up. I mean, how could it have gotten worse than day one? But day two was worse. Day three was even worse. Day four, day five. I mean, he took America's 250th, which could have been this incredible celebration, this nonpartisan coming together of the country, and he's turned it into this broken, disgusting, grotesque thing in that Timu Arch or Timu Arc that they were building to try to see what the triumphal arch was going to look like that Donald Trump wants to build so desperately. It was oozing stuff. There was literal ooze coming out of it. I was like, what the hell is even up there? And then state regime media is doing what state regime media does. They keep on trying to promote this state fair like it's the greatest thing ever. And we can see even on I could show you footage of people that we know who are there. There's some great people taking footage. You have Anarchy Princess is doing a great job. Amanda Moore is doing great work there. A guy named Gene Park is doing a great job getting footage. But just, you don't have to like take their footage. I mean, you can look at the footage that state regime media, which calls itself Fox, is posting. There's nobody there. And they'll be like, look how many people are here. Doesn't this look amazing? Isn't this great? Then they'll bring on like a cabinet member like Brooke Rollins, and she'll be like, this met all of our expectations. We're doing 150, this exceeded our expectations. We're doing about 150,000 people a day. And look, why this is significant beyond the humiliation ritual, beyond the fact that it's this complete and utter failure is, the fact that they lie about this just shows you that they literally lie about anything and everything. They lie about this. They lie about war crimes. They slaughter little girls in Iran and Manab. And then they say, oh, we don't know. It may have been the Iranian tomahawks. They don't have tomahawks. The pretext for getting into this catastrophic and unlawful war with Iran is, oh, they have imminent nuclear capabilities and it's existential. We're all going to die if we don't do this invasion of Iran right now. I mean, look, you did not wipe out their nuclear capabilities. I mean, didn't you claim that it was total obliteration, before Iran clearly won in this catastrophic and unlawful war launched by Donald Trump at the request of Netanyahu? And it's been, just watching Netanyahu try to bring the United States back into more war right now. There was a report, I believe, from the New York Times saying how even the Trump regime had to, potentially warn Iran that Netanyahu was trying to kill the lead Iranian negotiators, MB Ghalibaf and Araghchi, at the last Switzerland round of negotiations, and as they were kind of traveling and headed there. And now you have Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner like begging Iran, please don't toll the Strait of Hormuz. Please don't toll it. Think big, think grand, think bigger picture right here. I think about like Don Draper, from Mad Men, as though like this is going to work on the Iranians after the Trump regime has invaded Iran multiple times in the middle of negotiations. Witkoff and Kushner are like, okay, I know you want to do tolling. I know you think you want to control the Strait of Hormuz. Let me propose something for you. Think big, big picture, real estate, hotels, massive skyline. Tehran is going to be massive, the biggest boom in your economy ever. Just don't toll. Trust us. Trust us. And Iran's like, no, we don't trust you. Our power, our strength comes from now controlling the Strait of Hormuz, that we can shut it down. We can control the flows of the tankers, the VLCCs, and the cargo ships. That is where our power stems from right now. And that's our leverage. Why would we give up our leverage to you because you say, trust us? We don't trust you. You're the least trustworthy people. Since the MOU was entered into on a daily basis, the Trump regime has violated the MOU. Heck, earlier this week, I was showing you clips of J.D. Vance saying, the only reason we entered into this MOU is we need to replenish our stocks. That's what, but then after those 60 days, we'll probably see, where are we at? We'll see if Iran's been a good boy or hasn't been, and then we'll decide what to do. I want you to pay attention, though, to what J.D. Vance said there about replenishing our stocks and what he meant. I mean, on the one hand, stocks, equities, which are not doing that great right now, but that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about our strategic petroleum reserves, which mostly are in Cushing, Oklahoma, and we've basically hit functional and technical tank bottom. And even though the Strait of Hormuz is a little more open than it was before, you're still not getting the same volume of tankers that are getting out of the Strait of Hormuz, and the strategic reserves continue to go down and down and down. And it's really a big issue. So people in the oil industry refer to something called crack spreads, which is the delta or the difference between the price of crude, which seems to be being manipulated by Treasury Secretary Bessent right now. And so when you hear, well, the price of oil has gone down, well, yeah, the price of crude, I suppose, has gone down. But that seems to be a market that is very susceptible to kind of shorts and manipulation. What I'm focused on and what the American people are probably focused on is, what am I paying at the pump? That's the refinery cost, right? And so when we talk about crack spreads, it's the delta between crude and refinery costs. And so you may be wondering, I don't really see the relief at the pump, or a little bit, but not really at a rapid pace. If crude prices are at $69 a barrel or $70 a barrel, shouldn't I be paying much less for gas? It's a different marketplace, and it's a marketplace that is heavily reliant on the fact of our strategic reserves that are continuing to go down to levels that are the lowest in history right now, which I've referred to as essentially functional tank bottom. And there's massive risk there. I mean, you see that we're having a massive fertilizer shortage right now. The United States tried to very quietly do a fertilizer emergency declaration to bring in fertilizer from overseas. And in that declaration, it says we basically run out of fertilizer. But farmers know that. I mean, Donald Trump could go out in North Dakota or go out in Iowa or wherever and say the farmers are living a golden age and everything's amazing and everything is great. Aren't you like as happy as can be? But farmers know the situation with fertilizer. Farmers know that a lot of their export markets have been cut off. You know the situation right now, whether you're a farmer or not a farmer. You know what the job market is like. You know how difficult it is to afford rent. You know it's impossible to buy a home. You know what's happening. Donald Trump may say, but your 401ks are up 85%. 85, he's making these, he just makes up fake numbers. Donald Trump's portfolio may be up 285% or 400%, which, by the way, he's probably not even going to pay taxes on because he gave himself a super pardon in a settlement involving that $10 billion case he filed against the Treasury Department and the IRS, which in my mind waives all tax liability and all tax investigations and audits into him, which would also would be part of that year when Donald Trump has just released his financial disclosures, for that year. But, the American people aren't like, yeah, what's incredible right now is that my 401k has surged 85%. It's not a real number, number one. A lot of Americans have had to tap into their 401ks, which is supposed to be for their retirement, in order for them to pay bills because they're on the verge of bankruptcy right now. The savings rate by Americans is down to like an all-time low right now, like less than 3% or something, that they have saved, meaning if anything happens like a medical emergency, and that's happening increasingly because Trump has ripped away people's health care, that could result in bankruptcies, and the American people are experiencing it. I want to highlight, I'm going to go into the financial disclosures as well, but I'll highlight just a glimpse of the kind of overall corruption here, it's kind of late stage capitalism corruption. I'll go through the financial reports, but show Donald Trump's post this morning about Micron, if we have that. Yeah, Donald Trump says, how about this? How about this? And I'm going to show you the bait and switch right here. Are you ready for it? I'm going to show you the sleight of hand. How about this? Micron, a great American company, announced that they are putting in $250 million into Trump accounts for the future benefit of children. And their stock went up 9 points today. Thank you, Micron. First off, their stock didn't go up 9 points today. Their stock has been down significantly. But we'll talk about what actually happened. So Micron, which has really surged since 2024. I mean, it is now one of the kind of largest, stocks in the NASDAQ 100. But they made a lot of their money starting in 2024. Well, what happened in 2024? Well, former President Biden, his CHIPS Act, which took billions of taxpayer dollars, invested in the semiconductor industry in order to help semiconductor industry grow. So you hear a lot about CapEx spending and all of these chip companies that are making lots of money. Well, it's not out of nowhere. Right? It's coming from the fact that there was a policy in order to help our semiconductor industry, which was suffering because Donald Trump was, and even in his first term, engaging in a trade war, against the world. And Biden said, okay, we got to correct that, and we've got to invest at home. So as a result of the CHIPS Act, if these companies met certain criteria and hit certain benchmarks, the federal government gave them money, which is actually the taxpayer money. And so Micron, if you look at their balance sheet, they've, made about $3-4 billion over the years. I mean, most recently in 2026, it's close to $3 billion. The year before, $1.2 billion. That's taxpayer money, proceeds from government incentives. So, you have these types of companies, they attack Democratic presidents who actually helped them grow. I mean, just think about it, help them grow. Then a Republican president, a MAGA extremist comes into power, helps them on the tax, with their own kind of personal taxes and helps the billionaires. And then what they do is they go, okay, we'll give, how much money was it? $250 million. To these so-called Trump accounts, which are investment accounts, which go in the stock market and buy funds that include stocks like Micron. So they've got, say, $4 billion. Then they took 250. They're putting it in accounts that then basically go to reinvest in them and reinvest, in the market. And then they want a high five, and they want the current person in the Oval Office to make social media posts about it to try to manipulate the stock price. That was working before. It ain't working right now, because I think the American people, especially after seeing Donald Trump's financials, I think the American people, I think even the investor community is like, oh, got it. This is just a Trump grift racket. And then when you looked at, again, how much money did Trump make on his meme coins and crypto? $2.26 billion. How much did his investors make? Or how much did the retail people? How much did the regular folk, not Donald Trump's top level people? How much did the regular folks make? Oh, they lost 2.2 or 2.3. So he made 2.2. They lost 2.2. That looks a lot like the K-shaped economy that is the American economy right now, right? Where the rich have gotten richer and everybody else has been screwed. We've all been dumped in Trump's pump and dump, while his right-wing oligarch buddies are doing tax write-offs for sports teams and yachts and planes, and they're screwing over the American people. And then when you get a mayor like Zoran Mamdani in New York City, who actually cares about the people and calls for collective action in trying to improve the city, to improve lives, collective sacrifice. Oh my God, did you say the word collective? Did you say you want people to sacrifice? Do you want people to actually work together? That sounds communist to me. And then Trump's out there like, this is the biggest threat, even bigger threat than 9/11. This is a bigger threat than World War II and the Nazis. There's been no bigger threat than democratic socialist candidates. And what? Mamdani just posted, it's hot out there and the power grid is working overtime to keep us cool. Sounds commie to me, really. I mean, as you have Donald Trump like extorting or forcing himself onto companies and taking massive stakes in them. Mamdani's out there saying, it's hot out there. The power grid is working overtime to keep us cool. So set your AC to 78 degrees, turn off lights, electronics you're not using, and just unplug things that you're not using. Let's stay safe. Let's hang in there together, right? Harris Faulkner on state regime media Fox goes, no, thank you, Mayor Mamdani. Ha, 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 Mayor you're a communist. Don't you dare tell us to set your AC to 78 degrees. Well, notably, the Department of Energy's website said the same thing. It says, set your programmable thermostat as high as comfortable in the summer and raise the set point when you're away from the home. Start with an indoor temperature between 75 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. So what did the Trump regime do after Mayor Mamdani said the same exact thing that the Department of Energy website said? Yep. The Trump regime wiped out all of the pages from the Department of Energy's website that instructed people to set their thermostats to 78 degrees during warmer days, just as Zoran Mamdani did. And again, if they're willing to do that, do you know the horrors and atrocities that they are willing to enable? How do you trust any data that's coming out? I mean, yeah, the jobs report was bad today, with again 57,000 jobs created when the expectations were 110,000 or 120,000 jobs, and the jobs that were created were pretty much just in healthcare, while all these other sectors lost jobs. But how do we even know that 57? How do we know we're not losing 300,000 jobs every month at this point? How do we know? How do we know when the Trump regime is willing to lie and delete the thermostat section from the Department of Energy website? You're telling me that these people, I like when there are people like, you don't understand, Ben. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is a very serious organization, and they would not allow any political. You understand the way the BLS works, Ben? We've worked in the BLS, so I truly don't care. You want me to believe any data coming out of this despicable regime? Look, there is a reason why consumer confidence right now is basically worse than the Great Depression. Do you think that people are just making it up? Do you think everybody out there who are experiencing what we all are experiencing are all lying? Or do you think the Trump regime is lying when they lie about everything? No, people feel that we are in a Great Depression right now because they are in a Great Depression right now. And just because you have a handful of right-wing oligarchs becoming trillionaires and 100 billionaires, which the Trump regime and their economists call a K-shaped economy, everybody under the horizontal line in that K-shape is where most people are. And they are somewhere along that line that's going straight down, which for the Trump meme coins is the dumb portion of the pump and dump. No, people are terrified that they are not able to make it another month. People are unable to afford just day-to-day stuff right now. And while people are expressing how much they're suffering, Donald Trump was posting AI videos of himself pretending to be a doctor and saying, have you been suffering from Trump derangement syndrome? Ha, 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 ha. You suffer from TD. Just stop, man. These are real serious times. I don't know who thinks that this behavior is okay and acceptable. This is what he was posting late at night. He was also posting about, as promised, gas prices are going down, 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 down. We are opening up these freedom centers, he calls them, freedom gas centers in the greater Philadelphia area. And 25 freedom gas centers are lowering their prices because I requested it. Then he posted some like weird AI image of like a freedom gas center. I don't know if a freedom gas center exists or doesn't exist in the greater Philadelphia area. I know that that is not helping you be able to afford your gas, whatever the hell that is right there. But everything's a scam. Everything's a gimmick. Going back to it, it's why they say, look, everything is amazing at the Great American State Fair. We've hit all of our markers. This is the most amazing thing imaginable. Let me show you what just went down moments ago, where a stage at the so-called Great American State Fair literally collapsed, literally fell apart on a group of young girls who were there performing. They were rehearsing for the July 4th event, and the stage collapsed, and it nearly killed the young girls. Let me show you what went down moments ago. Let's play it. Do you realize how dangerous that could have been or how dangerous that was? Thank God nobody actually got killed or hurt. But just like the reflecting pool, which was destroyed by the Trump regime, and then they want to blame, what they say, criminal algae, vandals. They even did a felony indictment of an Olympic canoeist, David Hearn, for putting his hand in the water. Put his hand in the water. They brought felony charges against the guy. Look, we all saw in the reflecting pool, Donald Trump drove his motorcade through the reflecting pool while it was being repaired. You don't think that that's going to cause damage to it? You all hired some of the worst contractors. You all didn't do any of the necessary preparation for actually building this reflecting pool to what it needed to be. The water supplies coming from the Potomac, everybody knew this was going to be an issue. You then dumped all of these toxic chemicals into the water, which then killed the ducks. And then you want to blame the vandal. This is a constant theme throughout Donald Trump's life, what we've been seeing. And what you just saw there with the stage falling apart and almost killing those young girls who were dancing over there, who were rehearsing, to me, that is so symbolic of the Trump presidency, everything that Donald Trump has been his entire life. Yes, the group of people who are part of the Epstein class, who are covering up the exploitation of young girls, you think they give a crap about people's lives in rehearsal? No, I mean, you think they give a crap about the lives of young girls in Manab, in Iran? Do you think they give a crap about the lives of people? No. This Epstein class oligarchy that keeps getting richer, whose greed can't be satiated, this cabal, this is who they are. And it is absolutely despicable. Despicable. So, you know, they're going to be like, oh, that was a Democratic vandal. That was a communist vandal who did it. That's who actually did it. Let me show you what they're saying over on state regime media Fox, as they show you what the so-called Great American State Fair actually looks like. You'll see nobody there. They'll be like, festivities are in full swing, everybody. As poli-sci says, the only thing missing are a few tumbleweeds. Let's play this clip.
All of this as festivities are in full swing in Washington for America's 250th birthday. Today's theme at the Great American State Fair, Horsepower of America, showcasing the nation's innovation. Mark Meredith is live.
Then I'll show you over here, Brooke Rollins, who is on state regime media, which calls itself Fox. She was out there saying, from my perspective, we're hitting every mark. We're hitting every mark. Do we have a portion of it? I'm not sure we have a portion of that. Let's show the portion that we have.
They are keeping their spirits up and believe the critics that have been pointing to the crowd side will be proved wrong by the end of the weekend.
From my perspective, it is hitting exactly every mark that we had hoped it would hit at this point. I do think this.
Really, it's hitting every mark you hope that it would hit at this point. I also want to talk about in a little bit what's going on in Ukraine right now. I don't want to forget and ignore. I know that, corporate news, they focus on whatever the big buzz story is of the day. But Russia launched a massive ballistic missile strike on Kyiv and Kharkiv and Zaporizhia and lots of Ukrainian cities. Over 20 people died, hundreds were injured. The issue in Ukraine right now is that they don't have the Patriot interceptors for the ballistic missiles. Ukraine is able to shoot down the Shahed drones from Russia, but they can't shoot down ballistic missiles without the Patriot interceptors. who's not giving Ukraine the Patriot interceptors? Donald Trump. Now, Trump has directly rejected giving these interceptors to Ukraine. What Trump said he was going to do, which he lied about because he's a fraud and he lies about everything. He said that he was going to give it to European countries and NATO that could buy it, and then they could provide it to Ukraine. But now the Trump regime is not providing it, and they're blaming it on, oh, we don't have it. We're low on Patriot interceptors because of the catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran. But we know that Donald Trump and Witkoff and Kushner, the same people, who are making billions of dollars, but who are also out there now telling Iran, we got your back. We got your back. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. Just don't do the tolls. That's how they're trying to negotiate on behalf of the United. They're not appointed to be in these positions. But anyway, we know how much they're enamored with Putin, right? Witkoff has on his office a note that Putin gave him where Putin talks about taking over certain areas in eastern Ukraine. And Witkoff has framed that apparently and put it in his office. But right now, Ukraine doesn't have any of these interceptors that it needs. Russia knows that. So Russia's strategy is, okay, let's do less drones. And even though ballistic missiles cost us more money, Ukraine doesn't have the ability to strike down all of our ballistic missiles. So let's just do a ballistic missile swarm, spend a lot of money on it, and we'll target Kyiv. I mean, they hit the Premier Palace Hotel, the 5-star hotel in Kyiv. They hit a lot of other areas. I mean, there it is right there. And Zelensky's out there saying, yeah, we don't have the interceptors. It's important that the world does not remain silent about what happened. But the issue is that we don't have the sufficient number of missiles for Patriot systems. That was promised to us. We're not getting it. And so you take a look at the world right now. You take a look here in the United States. And one of the things too is I am watching FIFA. I'm watching the US play, obviously, but I'm watching a lot of the world kind of come together through football, not because of Trump. I mean, the games in Mexico are incredible. The crowds in Mexico are incredible. Mexico's been an incredible host. The way the Trump regime treated the Iran football team is just horrific. And then you had Mark Wayne Mullen, the Homeland Security Secretary, said he jumped for joy when the Iran football team lost. What are you, a baby? You jumped for joy? What a sick and disgusting thing to even say. Everything the Trump regime has done has been horrible, but what you have seen is that people genuinely love and are empathetic and want connection. And and despite corruption and FIFA, despite how horrible Trump is, people like sports because it's something that unifies and brings people together. And you see that, and then you contrast it to the behavior of people like Trump and Netanyahu, who have done so much damage in the world, who have inflicted so much pain and division, when all we all want to do is just get along with each other. And we're on this Trump kind of fraud cycle right now that, fortunately, during his first term, don't get me wrong, it was horrible all 4 years of Trump's first term. But when finally a lot of the stuff that he did was beginning to catch up to him, and he couldn't ride Obama's coattails any longer and pretend that he was doing those things that Obama actually set in motion and passed the baton to, that was towards the end with the horrors of COVID and all those press conferences that we saw. Here, Donald Trump was able to, with his tariffs against the world, this catastrophic wars everywhere, with Project 2025, he kind of rapidly accelerated what we saw during the first term, and doing it at such a scale that it's not even freaking close. And here we are 2 years in, midterms are approaching, and now he's stuck and the world is on fire. And this is what we've seen his entire life in his failed businesses, in his bankruptcies, in everything that he's done. And it's a mixture of the grotesque and vile behavior, a la his past relations with Epstein, his current cover-up, his business failures that we see in the past, and how these bankruptcies developed while he would try to enrich himself at the expense of the lenders and the shareholders and the stakeholders. We're seeing it play out right now as a country. There's no denying it. It's unavoidable. All right, we'll take our first quick break of the show. When we come back, we still have a lot to discuss. Let's take that break. A reminder, hit subscribe. Help us get to 7 million subscribers. And also subscribe to MeidasTouch on audio. All right, let's take our first quick break of the show. Only quick break.
I've really been trying to keep healthier, high-quality ingredients around the house, and one thing I've gotten tired of is buying seafood that looks great at the store, but then just doesn't live up to expectations. That's why I love Wild Alaskan Company. They offer the best way to get wild-caught, high-quality seafood delivered right to your door on your schedule. Each box comes with individually portioned, vacuum-sealed fillets that are easy to prep, whether I'm throwing together a quick dinner or making something a little more special. Everything is quick frozen right from the Alaskan waters, which helps lock in the texture, flavor, and key nutrients like omega-3s, and it is seafood you can trust with no GMOs, antibiotics, or other additives. Plus, every order supports sustainable harvesting practices and Alaskan fishermen whose history is tied to the region and the practice. One of my favorites has been the coho salmon. It's incredibly versatile, cooks up beautifully, and has a great texture that makes it an easy go-to for dinner. Wild Alaskan Company is so confident that their fish is the best that they offer a 100% satisfaction and money-back guarantee, so you can try your first box risk-free. Go to wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first order of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode.
Look, I don't mind a dad bod, but with summer coming up in just a couple months, I've been thinking about getting into better shape this summer, just a little bit better shape. The problem is that my body doesn't just snap back into shape like it did in my 20s. As men get older, our bodies reprogram themselves. We naturally start, storing more fat and losing muscle faster. And then the main reason for this is testosterone. Most men's testosterone levels start dropping as early as their 30s. When that happens, it becomes easier to gain fat, especially around your stomach. And here's the frustrating part. The more body fat you gain, the more your body actually converts testosterone into estrogen, which makes it even easier to gain more fat. So it can turn into a really tough cycle for a lot of guys. That's why I started taking Mars Men. Mars Men is a natural supplement designed to support healthy testosterone levels, which can help your body burn fat more efficiently and build lean muscle. When your hormones are working the way they're supposed to, a lot of things can get easier. Workouts, energy, even staying lean. It's basically helping your body get back to running like it did years ago. No weird stimulants or synthetic hormones, just a real natural ingredients that support healthy T levels, weight management, and exercise performance. And the quality is legit. It's made in the USA and every batch is third-party tested. Since taking Mars Men, I've had way more consistent energy, stronger lifts, and better focus. Also, I love that it comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it, you'll get your money back. For a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. For a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. And it's also available on Amazon. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know that MeidasTouch sent you.
Listen, when we started MeidasTouch, there were plenty of moments when we wondered if we were doing everything right. What if nobody listened? What if we spent all this time building something and it never took off? Starting something new is exciting, but it could also be intimidating. That's why having the right tools matters, and for millions of businesses, that's Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, including the MeidasTouch merch store and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, helping everyone from major brands to entrepreneurs just getting started. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify makes it easy to build a beautiful online store that matches your brand. It's also packed with AI tools that can help you write headlines and even enhance product photography. Plus, Shopify helps you get the word out with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns, and gives you access to award-winning 24/7 customer support whenever you need it. You can manage inventory, payments, analytics, and more all in one place. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Meidas. That's shopify.com/Meidas. Go to shopify.com/Meidas, MEIDAS.
Welcome back to Ben on Breaking News. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is your breaking news. Special thanks to all of our sponsors who make the show possible. Discount codes for those sponsors are in the description below. I want to give a shout out to the folks over at MS Now who put together a supercut of Howard Lutnick, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Kevin Hassett, continually moving the goalposts and always saying, next quarter, things are going to go gangbusters. Things are going to be amazing for the economy. We're just setting the stage in 2025, right? 2026, that's going to be the banquet. And then everything is going to be amazing. It's right around the corner. Take a watch.
In the fourth quarter of 2025, this economy is going to be humming.
I think we're going to really pick up in the fourth quarter.
This is going to be the greatest growth economy, right? 6 months from now, a year from today. The economy that Donald Trump owns starts at the end of this year.
I am very optimistic about the first, second, and accelerating into the third quarter in terms of growth.
I am very, very optimistic on 2026.
Look for the second quarter of 2026 to be amazing. I think we're going to grow more than 5% GDP this quarter.
We expect that the global economy is going to have a big positive shock as soon as this is over.
We might have been growing at 4 in February. I think we're going to get back and we can have something with a 3 in front of it this year.
We're cruising at about 3, and again, I expect the second half will cruise about 4.
4% growth in the second half.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're a liar. You're a fraud. They're all frauds. What they're doing there is no different than what I saw in my career as a litigator prosecuting big civil cases against Ponzi schemers. It's exactly what I would observe. I was the litigator who was in a massive case against one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in California history in 2014, 2015. It's like literally the exact same. It's too on point, and it's almost hard to believe. And what they do when it all falls apart, then they find their scapegoat, right? Then they say we were right there. It was right around the corner. But then the Democrats won the midterms. We were about to do Save America Act. We were about to do another reconciliation bill. We were about to do something really big for crypto. We know that. Like crypto is literally, crack. Not a hyperbolic word to say. It's like crashed while Trump's crushed it on crypto. While people, but by the way, Trump's social media company owns a lot of Bitcoin. And you'll see, I believe, in their next quarter, massive losses, paper losses, because but Trump personally, he's made billions of dollars, and I think the $2 billion is the tip of the. I think Trump is probably made closer to $20 billion. I think that's one of the reasons he wanted that super pardon in the lawsuit. That I think the main intention of that lawsuit against the Treasury Department and the IRS was to hide the fact that I think the number's, closer to 15 or 20. I'm just giving you my opinion. I think it's significantly higher than $2 billion. And I think one of the ways he's hiding it is through family members and other family trusts outside of him. But that, when he brings Don Jr. and Eric with him on these trips, I just ask questions like, what do you think they're doing? What do you think they're doing when he brings them around? They're going around with the hat saying, want to deposit your money. So it's right around the corner, and then Democrats win the midterms or whatever the event is. That's what screwed it up. And then the bigger version of that is, just think, when whoever the next president is has to fix this, and you actually have to remove the bandage to see what really happened, when you actually have to operate and do the surgery the way Biden did, but you're going to have to do that on a whole other scale, right? If what Biden did the first time was significant, but that'll look like doing a few stitches compared to the open heart surgery that will need to be done by the next president, Democratic president, who is able to win. And then what's going to happen when you have to fix all of these things, right? Those companies that were part of the oligarchy, they start to freak out. They start to make statements that are panicking of the market. They start to, engage in that behavior. And, you have to then kind of deal with that the way Biden dealt with it for the first 2 years. And frankly, he was never able to recover from it from a public perception standpoint, because the perception became the reality, despite the fact that with all of the things that he did, and he did surgical things to make a big difference, actually led to the fact that had Trump done nothing, we would have had 3 rate cuts by now. He loves to talk about the Dow. I bet there's nothing I can do to prove I'm right or wrong, nor is the stock market the barometer of success. So I'll be clear about that. But I think that the stock market, right, the Dow would be to like 65,000, right? I mean, everybody was expecting, because of the way the economy was cruising in the right direction, inflation was decreasing. Everybody thought the interest rates would decrease 2 or 3 times. Biden was able to move us out of these, these never-ending wars. He actually did it, right? Trump freed the Taliban, but then got stuck. He loves the Taliban. Remember, he invited the Taliban to Camp David on 9/11 to celebrate. People don't talk about that enough. Dude invited the Taliban on 9/11 to Camp David to have a party, during his first term. Go Google it. He was the one who released 5,000 Taliban prisoners. Just think about that. Oh, and by the way, during his first term also, when he killed General Soleimani, Iran successfully attacked the United States in Iraq, but Trump covered that up too and said that no one was really injured and everyone was fine. There was hundreds of soldiers who had TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. He covered that up. And so here we are. Hope is right around the corner. And then you look at some of these other, like state regime media today. State regime media, Maria Bartiromo. It was like North Korean style anchors. As you got the news that we had a terrible jobs report, it doesn't get much worse than the jobs report that we just got. Okay, especially after the expectations. I want you to watch this North Korean style state regime media as though they say we're in a golden. I mean, this is like legitimately crazy stuff. Here, play this clip.
And Trump has been calling it the golden age. And I got to tell you, it certainly is feeling that way, Nancy. Once again, we've got strong economic growth. We've got a strong earnings period and a market that just won't quit. When you look at your own portfolio and what you're telling investors right now, Nancy, what would be an appropriate portfolio maneuver to do to ensure that we are participating in this euphoria?
Yeah, I think you want to be long stocks. I think Mark is 100% right about that. You put new money to work, and you don't shy away from the tech trade, because that is driving future growth.
Like legitimately crazy stuff. Then they bring on Chris Wright, the energy secretary, and he goes, look, Could you imagine how bad it would be if we had Kamala right now? Just think about it. Things would be over. There would be blackouts. There would be this. We saved you from the hypothetical fears that we are creating, when in fact those fears are actually happening, but we're going to blame Kamala Harris for it on July 2nd, 2026. Watch, here, play this clip.
Now, if we had President Harris right now, we'd be dealing with blackouts and massive economic disruption because they would have continued to close all the coal plants, and they wouldn't have encouraged building anything new unless it was carefully blessed by the climate cult gods from above, which means nothing meaningful would be built and expanded. But that's, fortunately, we're not in those ages. We're celebrating 250 years of the greatest nation on earth. America became a great nation by bold people taking chances and building big things. We're going back to that.
I love that, Secretary. Love it so much. And you
Okay, these are like legit, like these are like actually crazy human beings. I truly don't know how these people live with themselves. Truly, I don't know how they live with themselves. You know, they're out there. Dude, shut up. Shut up. And they treat people like they are so stupid. They treat you like you're so stupid. But then I see some people, the few people who are attending this American Fair thing, whatever the hell you want to call it, and I have to declare a doubt. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I just saw this on the local Fox DC that was covering this. Homa Bash has done a really good job covering it, and you've got this great American state fair goer wearing the Trump hat or pink Trump hat. And she's talking about how there was no air conditioning, that she had to seek medical attention. There really wasn't any, but there was a booth where they were conducting baptisms. So there was some water. And so she had to dunk herself in the baptism water in order to get the hydration that she needed after not getting the appropriate medical attention. But it's great. So you know, this is like what you do at a fair. This is like a fair, right? Like this is like, you know, what goes down. Here, watch this.
None of these booths have air conditioning. We don't know what happened, but I started seeing stars.
Oh, really?
And we went to the tent. There's a religious tent because that's the theme for today.
Yeah.
And they had a pool. They're baptizing people. But thank God they had the pool. They said, "Do you want to get in?" I go, "Yes, I think I do."
I think I want to be baptized.
I'm soaking wet. But I went to the medic tent. They took care of me. I still got one of these towels. They filled me with electrolytes, but good
Nice folks in there for sure.
Oh, they're wonderful.
They are
absolutely excellent.
DC
excellent.
Fire helped you out.
I truly don't know. How are you ever going to get through to her? You know, there are a lot of people like that out there, and that's one of the difficult things, you know, to process. Like as a human being, it's like a difficult thing to process. And you know, she actually seems like a nice person. You know, she seems like a nice person. You know, I don't know. I mean, if I was walking, I take walks every day. You know, if I were to be walking in my neighborhood, you know, getting my cup of coffee in the morning, I'd probably say, "Hi, how are you?" I don't know that there's someone who is willing to be treated that way and apparently likes it and thinks it's like funny and thinks it's like a very fun thing to experience. And you know, they don't have air conditioning and they're medical service, so I had to go baptize myself because I saw Reuters did a good story, not good story, pretty horrifying story, but a story about what's happening with these people who were the victims of Trump's meme coin rug pull. And they're out there, a lot of them saying, we think that it couldn't have been Trump. Couldn't have been Trump. It was the Democrats. They must have shorted the meme coin. The Democrats did meme coin shorts and they brought it down. I mean, there was a story of the lady who put her life savings into the meme coin. She spent $40,000 in this Reuters story on the Trump meme coin, and it's lost all of its value. Trump took her money. Where do you think your money went? Trump took your money. And she's out there saying the Democrats shorted it. So it's their fault. So the incentive structure for bad guys and gals is to say, these people are dumb. These people are easy marks. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's just lie. It's right around the corner. Things are going to be great. Just you wait. Just you wait. It's the exact meme coin dynamic, but with our economy. It was the Dems who shorted your meme coin. It was the Dems who prevented the factory from being built. We had the factory boom. Remember Donald Trump said $21 trillion? Where is it? It's gone. The Democrats took it. No, it never existed in the freaking first place. It never existed because Donald Trump is a criminal. He is a grifter. He lies about everything. There's no $21 trillion. There's not all of these factories being built anymore. Inflation is surging because Trump is an idiot. And he is a malicious one who used the tariffs against the world as kind of his personal currency to extract deals for his family, to cut deals and exemptions while he screws over the American people who now have to pay for it. Oh, but the country has to pay for it, not America. That's not the way a tariff works. Stop it. Stop it. And ultimately, it just comes down to, like, how do you want to be treated as a human being? How do you want to be treated? How do you feel about yourself and your family and future generations? You know, how do you feel about your neighbors and your community in this country? Do you care? Do you not care? Do you think that it's you're on some weird, fun reality TV zombie style apocalypse, and every day, what's he gonna do today? He's gonna post a doctor video of himself. Oh, what's he gonna do? Post some QAnon stuff today? Oh, like funny. Oh, Obama. He's calling him Obama. Oh, Sleepy Joe. Yo, we're gonna talk about Hunter Biden. Oh, yo, what a fun. He's screwing you. He's literally destroying your life. And you enjoy it. You like it, MAGA. You actually like it. This isn't a political thing. It's just, these are just objective damn facts. In my view, they can say we're going to do 90 deals in 90 days. Remember, 90 deals in 90 days. Doge dividend checks are coming. Tariff rebate checks are coming. Oh, the tariffs are going to be great, but then the Supreme Court screwed us. The right-wing Supreme Court, they screwed us on the... I was just about to make all of this money. That's what was going to happen. And you were just about to get your tariff rebate check. You were just about to get your $5,000 Doge dividend check. You were just about to get it all. But then they did it. It's the Senate parliamentarians' fault. It's so unfair the way the Senate parliamentarian treats me. Everybody knows she's nefarious. Every other president, they whined about Senate parliamentarians and the way they applied the Byrd rule. What are you talking about? Look, this isn't a Democrat thing. This isn't a liberal thing. This ain't a progressive thing, although I happen to share progressive values. If you were to like make me take one of those tests, that's where it obviously would be. I'm just talking though about some basic damn competence right now, and leadership and adult behavior. I did an interview with Governor Shapiro today and Governor Newsom. Watch my Governor Newsom interview. And Shapiro I'll probably release tomorrow. These people are leaders. They're leaders. Whether you agree or disagree with their policies, they carry themselves with dignity. They focus on their state. They carry themselves a certain way. You know, Governor Shapiro told me that one of the hardest parts about this whole Trump era, he includes starting in 2015, is he said to me, he goes, Ben, we both have kids. My kids are a little older than yours. And he goes, it's hard when I speak with my kids. And pretty much all they've known because of Trump in 2015 to now, you know, maybe they were born slightly earlier, is Trump and Trump style fascism and politics, or whatever the hell you want to even call it. And so they don't remember that even though there were flaws in our system before, and serious ones and problems, that there was actually a time when you didn't have President of the United States behave like a really bad, petulant, horrible kid. No offense to petulant, horrible kids. And have other human beings who also know better be complicit and enable it. And that's, you know, how that has impacted all of these young people who have, this is all they know, and think that this is America, or that America is this, you know, grotesque thing. That's not how I grew up. It's not how I grew up. Even as I reflect on presidencies that I really disliked, you know, George W. Bush, I mean, to say not a fan would be a big understatement, but what I would do now to have a George W. Bush over a Trump, it's like, I can't even believe I would say such a thing. You know, I live in California, and so I went to the Reagan Library, which is about a year and a half ago, because it was near the venue where I got married. So I stopped by. Not that I was saying, we're going to make a day out of the Reagan Library, but it was close to the venue I got married at. And I went through it. And, you know, one of the things I was left with, obviously, still knowing that Reagan's policy set the foundation for a lot of the mess that we're in, and deserves to be called out in the strongest ways. But one of the things that I thought was undeniable, as I at least walked the library, was that he was someone who at least attempted to carry himself with dignity and treated the office itself with respect and with compassion. And when you looked at the quotes all around, you would see things that reflected shared values and shared humanity, and things like that. You know, and obviously I don't have to go into the fact that, I mean, I'm a big supporter of former President Obama, so obviously, but, you know, seeing the speech that he and Michelle Obama gave at the opening of the Presidential Center, and just thinking to myself, I hope that people can see that right there to Trump and MAGA is the biggest threat to them over all of the things that Donald Trump says. For Trump, people who are offering real solutions to Americans, or to people, that's a bigger threat to Donald Trump than 9/11, World War II, World War I, Vietnam. Trump says that. And that's what he's actually saying right now. That people who actually don't just make bold promises, listen and deliver, that's the bigger threat to Trump and his Epstein class than 9/11, World War II, and World War I. When Trump says it's a bigger threat to you, he means him. He means him. Remember on 9/11, he bragged about the size of Trump Tower since the Twin Towers were, he's talking about himself. And that threatens him. So what's it going to be, America? Seriously, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? That's kind of the call to action. What's it going to be? Is this the cycle that you want heading into the 4th? This is where you want to be in the future, every 4th like this? I don't. I know you don't. Let's get out there and keep speaking the truth. Watch the Brother Show tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll be live. Keep checking back on the YouTube channel throughout the day. Appreciate you as always. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 7 million. Thanks so much.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.